Tired of losing ranked matches over and over again? Well, I can't fix your randoms, or your skills. But there's one thing I can help with. Drafting. Because 99% of the player base have the drafting skills of a chimpanzee. It might be you too, but don't worry, I got you. And to prove I'm worthy of even making this video, my profile is now on the screen. And I guess I have a few accomplishments. Is this enough, guys? Anyway, I'm here to teach you about how to draft, not just who to pick. There are billions of combinations, so I've broken them into categories, making it easier to see which brawlers counter what. The banning stage is the easiest part. Just ban the brawler that will counter the brawler you are planning to pick. For a simple example, if you want to play Dynamite, you should probably ban Mortis. Moving into the picks. Starting with spawners. If the brawler has a turret, you should pick a thrower, because they can easily take down those turrets. This is because turrets are a vital part of their role. However, if the brawler spawns protection, like Ruff's bags or Charlie's spiders, go for brawlers with splash damage or piercing attacks. Spawners are easy to counter, but can also be devastating to play against if you forget to pick brawlers on your team that can deal with them. The second group is control. Since these brawlers have low DPS, you can take advantage of this by picking an assassin or a tank. This concept is hard to grasp for most people, but if you notice the enemies have little DPS on their team, you can easily carry the game by choosing a highly aggressive brawler. However, if it is an open map, you would want to play a sniper, which simply outranges them. Next up is thrower. They get overwhelmed easily when facing off against assassins and most tanks. Like the previous group, they are also bad at dealing with brawlers that get up in their face. Throwers also hate when their important walls are broken down, so wall breakers tend to be quite useful. Be careful though, because sometimes there are maps where having a thrower on your team is crucial, and sometimes the best way to respond to a thrower is with another thrower. But that's obviously if your teammates haven't already picked one. Next group is assassin. They have a really hard time when playing against high DPS brawlers and tanks, because they have to get close to enemies to deal any damage. Assassins also hate playing against stuns and knockbacks. They're easy to counter, but keep in mind that the enemies can always last pick an assassin. So if your team is looking vulnerable to assassins, it's always nice to consider a brawler that can deal with them. Next one is tank. They're simply hard countered by high DPS, and it's not even close. Tanks also hate when their walls or bushes are broken, so wall breakers are useful for nerfing the tanks. They also have a tough time against brawlers with stuns, slows, or knockbacks. But tanks also have the last pick advantage. If your team lacks the DPS, you should definitely consider going with a high DPS brawler to avoid this. Next up is tank counter. These are either high DPS brawlers or brawlers that can slow, stun, or knock back enemies. The downside of these brawlers is that they lack range, so they are countered by brawlers that outrange them, like snipers. That is only if the map is open though. If the map is closed, then it changes. On closed maps, you would start considering throwers, and they would probably think you're annoying. Lastly, we have sniper. On less opened maps, they struggle against assassins and tanks, who can easily run them down and push them back into spawn. A similar effect happens with speeding abilities, since even skilled snipers will struggle to hit shots, forcing them back. On more open maps, you should just pick sniper into sniper, and it is always viable. If walls are in the center, think of throwers. Throwers can shut down teams if they lack counters, but pick them late to avoid being countered yourself. Now that we've gone through all the weaknesses of each category, let's take into account which mode you're in. You should always think of the objective for the mode, which many people ignore. Never just get a tier list of the best brawlers and pick one from it, as only certain brawlers will do good on specific modes. In Heist, The goal is to destroy the enemy safe before they destroy yours. Only pick brawlers that are capable of dealing high damage to the safe. Otherwise, enemies can ignore you and focus on your safe, knowing they'll outdamage you. In Brawl Ball, the objective is to score in the enemy's goal. In this mode, mobility is key, making tanks and assassins very viable. In turn, this actually makes tank counters the most effective to play. Gem Grab is an extremely lane-dependent mode, where teams need one mid to control the center, and 2 lanes to block the flanks from putting the mid in danger. Mid-brawlers' characteristics would have long range and have good survivability, like a knockback or a jump. Bounty and Knockout share similar objectives. On open maps, snipers are best due to their range, but watch out for throwers on maps with walls in the center. On closed maps, throwers dominate, and assassins become much stronger picks. Now that you have much more of an understanding on drafting, we can sharpen it even further. I'm now giving the video to a pro player who will test you on certain draft scenarios. He will even give reasoning and show why certain picks would or wouldn't work.
Alright guys, now that I'm in charge of the video, I'm going to show example drafts, and then you will think of the brawler that you believe would be the best pick. You can always pause the video to give yourself more time. Starting off with the first draft, it's Shooting Star, and the enemies go Piper, your teammates go Nani Angelo, and the enemies go RT Bell. What type of brawler would you pick here? And if you need a hint, maybe think about the walls in the center. Well, the best type of brawler to pick in this situation would be a thrower like Sprout, Tick, or Juju, because they can easily take control of the whole center. The enemies don't have any brawlers to deal with this and will be pushed back further into their spawn. For the second draft, it's Parallel Plays. The enemies start with Jesse, your teammates go Gale and Surge, and the enemies go Ems and Barley. What type of brawler are you thinking of? Notice how they have brawlers that struggle against brawlers that are on top of them. For this, I would recommend picking an assassin like Buzz, Shade, or Mortis. The enemies will struggle against this, and it becomes extremely difficult for them to deal with your aggressive play and abilities. As an assassin, you have many utilities that will enable you to close any gaps on the opponents. For the third draft, it's Backyard Bowl, and the enemies start with Gus, your teammates go Piper and Stu, and the enemies finish with Charlie and Pam. It seems like the enemy is trying to take advantage of the fact that Piper and Stu cannot deal with the amount of targets the spawners are putting out, while also dealing with Pam's infinite healing. You can counter this by picking a brawler like Jesse or Penny to relieve the amount of targets from your teammates. Picking a brawler like this will also prevent Pam's teammates from getting close to her healing turret because of the splash damage you can deal. If you have any more questions, join Remy's Discord, which is pinned in the comments, and we will answer any questions that you have one-on-one. This video took tons of effort to make, so we would really appreciate if you subscribed. We hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know if you want more content like this. See you next time.
I know that I'm gone. They see me blowing up, now they say they want some. I got 2 twin blocks, turn you to a dance.